show with Richard Noray and yourself, Daddy McDavid,
Yes.
is, I mean, and Melissa, poor Melissa just called me. She
Yeah.
wanted to know where am I because I'm normally on time. But
Yeah.
you know how it is. And I
Yes,
said to everyone who was making plans for me, I said, listen, there are 2 times that I am not available. Between 4, 15, and 6 on 102 digital and another station at Wednesday on a Wednesday. But I am not available because I have a commitment on those days. So my apologies to your listeners and viewers. I'm here, and you know I'm going Point 14 today.
True, and I'm in Port of Spain.
Huh?
What time you gonna get there for?
Well, that's the whole thing, you know. They want me to launch off my campaign in Point. You know, I'm a Point girl, you know, at heart. Huh?
Yes,
I know it is true, right? We went through all of that. So we know that is true. That's not too much for it not to be
That's
true.
fantastic. You know, I like that.
You know, I didn't know Iowa George was from Point. I knew that Matthew Duke was from Point. I knew Super Blue was from Point.
Yes.
And Lions, I knew they were Point. But, you know, I talk South like I talk in Marshall from Superior and all that. Yeah. But I didn't know how many were actually from.
Yeah, I think a lot of them.
Egypt Village, is it Egypt Village or Capiville? Egypt Village.
Iowa came out of Mora.
Oh, I don't know that one, you know.
Yeah, Mora. That's by the roundabout as you enter in Point Fountain, where the
Dunlop roundabout used to be Dunlop roundabout. Right.
At that roundabout there, you turn left and you go down into Mora. That's where Iowa has its property. Control your property.
Yeah, well, you know, so
a lot of them.
And, you know, I made a mistake the other day when I was saying what church that we went to was Parrylands. It was Parrylands, the little wooden church. Where they're speaking in Latin. Who never say and his service is 2 hours. God forgive me, but oh God, that was very hard on a little child. Yeah. And my mother is what they call Porto Iglis. Every man going to church, you know. Yeah. You understand? I've been
through that myself.
No, and not only that, when it's night time, you're trying to play, you're sleeping because mommy coming to say sharp play. Yeah. Every man Jack have to kneel down. Yeah. And it's either these glorious mysteries, the joyful mysteries. Yeah. It's the sorrowful, glorious, and joyful mysteries. Yeah. And you better know your prayers, you know. Oh God, and you couldn't get away. Not with you now.
Well, that's a beautiful way to start and kick things off.
Yes, it is. It really means a lot to me, yes, personally, because I think, yes, you can live other places in your life, obviously, and I did, but those early formative years, from the age of kindergarten to mid-teens, those are really, really you're coming to being a person. You're carrying a sense of your own self because
that's right.
You know, and so it's really very touching and nostalgic for me to be down there in Point. So baby, I supposed to see you.
well,
laughing.
No, I'm serious. I will be there.
Very good.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm calling out a lot of Point people to come down and to listen to what we have to say. Yeah. Kicking off the campaign down there. I'm very happy to do that. So when I'm finished the show, I might have to go about 5 minutes before. Yeah. Because then we don't know the traffic, but they say I can make it to 7:30.
Yeah. Well, good. That time, traffic won't be all that bad that time. Right. But there will be some traffic.
Yes, I know that. So that's where I am now. Let me just excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I make my commitment to this station. So,
and that's nice.
Melissa, I'm Melissa worried.
Me too. When I look at the time,
Melissa, you know.
I'm a time person too, and when I saw the time, I say, "Oh boy, Karen is very busy these days. She might not appear today."
Nah, I would never do that.
Good.
No. I would not do that.
Right.
I would not do that. I would not do that. It's true. I was doing a lot of things, as you rightly said.
Yeah.
But there's no way I would do that. If I were to ever do something like that, I would make sure to let you know in advance. I wouldn't do that. It's so unprofessional, and not only that, you know, people put faith in you. And you also have to reciprocate that, you know, so I wouldn't do that.
I agree. Quality in leadership. That's what we need now. More than ever before.
You have so many things we could talk about today.
Yes. Well, the ball is in your court.
Oh God, no. Well, we could talk about, but of course, the thing with the DPP and Anram Lugan and all that itself is trying to undo the tangle, because it is a tangle, because I did sit down trying to get my dates in order and the letters that were actually published, copies of the letters that were published. So it wasn't a summary of what was in the letter, but what the letters actually said. And at least when the DPP became apprised of it in 2019, and what happened, but before 2019 and even before around 2017, 2018, a number of things were going on in the back room. But what I would say, that's one topic. The other topic, of course, is the I don't know if I had said anything to you all, but to the viewers, but I went up to Washington on next day, Tuesday. And I think it's gone on the social media, but I don't know the context in which I went. I think there was a good article in the Sunday Guardian by Curtis Williams who put it in context. It was dealing with de-risking, and which is a fancy word, and foreign direct investment. So I could, if I want, we can speak a little bit about that. And of course, my challenge to the political leadership and how I see, but you can do the interview and don't let me interview myself, because I might ask the questions I want to be asked. and then answer it.
Yeah. Now, I see you've been trying to clarify, or you've been trying to find out, I shouldn't say clarify, you've been trying to find out why the extensive days of voting in the upcoming internal elections of the PNM. I too find it a bit worrisome. I too find, and I listen to a lot of people on the ground, because I'm always on the ground, and I hear a lot of people talking, and everybody's wondering why this extensive time, about 3 days of voting, and there's a lull between the first and the second day, and people want to know why. And I see you've been questioning that. I mean, from your perspective, what's worrisome about it? Richard had to say about it.
He did.
Yeah, he said in a few days the box might find legs, run away and come back.
Yes, I remember he said when I was on the show too. I remember I was on the show too.
Yeah, because
go ahead. You go ahead, David.
Yeah, I find it kind of confusing, for one, and why the radical change? I keep asking myself that. Why change from the one-day convention kind of voting to 2 days and then a lapse or a lull and then the final day? I can't understand it. Is there anything you understand about it, seeing that you are probing into it?
Well, what I will say is that my lawyers are really dealing with that. So, but I will just give a little synopsis on it. But I want them, they have really done a lot of research, and they reminded me there is also Article 18, which says an election. So an election day, I believe, but I don't want to get it wrong. So it means as though it is presumed in the Constitution there'll be 1 day. So it's not just the question of the 3 days, which is really 9 days, because the last day there's this big gap or hiatus between the I think it's the 26th and 27th of November and the 4th of December.
Yeah.
But also to it is worrisome, because let's be as frank as we can be. I mean, people have had general concerns about, to the extent to which there is a level of transparency, and when you do something like that, it does not engender confidence. There's no explanation that has been given. I am not sure. They only saying that they could do it. I think that's the answer. We can do it. That's not an answer. The answer is, why are you doing it? Why would you do that? Because, as we've already said, there's a principle that attached to all of these things, and the reason is that you want to avoid any perception of any kind of wrongdoing. Yeah. So you do not. So that's why we have in our elections, national election, the Election and Boundaries, which is an independent body under the Constitution that takes charge of the election process, and for good reason, because and allows there to be representatives of all the parties to be there when the counting is done. The box is sealed in their presence, and then you're allowed to go with the whoever's taking it to wherever the place for the those boxes are to be taken, you are allowed to follow the boxes, so to make sure there no you don't stop off anywhere by by Tanti Parlor, right? So I mean, there is a reason for all of that, and the reason for all of that is to ensure the integrity of the process, to ensure that one does not no opportunity for wrongdoing or tampering or the perception. So why would you then, unless you could tell us the good reason rather than we can do it, why won't you tell us why would you do that when it's all it does is add a layer of complexity, which it seems unnecessary. And the other thing too is, my lawyer said they will be dealing with this, so I'm just well, of course I'm a lawyer too, but they are really dealing with it. But the other thing that I found worrisome is that it's himself to himself in a way, because many of the persons who are going up for the positions within the party leadership are already in the cabinet or already are in the party leadership at the general council level. So, human nature, I don't think you want to lose that position. So that's why you want to have somebody independent assessing and making sure the process is done right. And it's not independent, because people who have a vested interest in the outcome are the ones who are conducting it and who have not been very clear about why must we take your word in the boxes and say, no, not at all. Not at all. There must be transparency. That is unacceptable.
Yes.
That you can have this big gap, then you're telling us it's all safe, but you have a vested interest in the outcome. So how would that give me a sense of comfort? That what you're doing is doing it in an independent, transparent way. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the process. It doesn't help the party. Why do you want to put the party? There's already people always saying all about corruption in parties and everything rigged and so on. Why would you, as a party who is really struggling with public perception of alienation and so on, why would you put yourself in a unnecessary position like this? And the last thing I will say is on that, which is the party communication. I thought the PNM party was about building and increasing its membership. And for those who left, for whatever reason, bringing them back home. I think that would be the main objective. So to me, and therefore participating in the work of the party and being fair about being part of the party. And why is it that we have to find out only by inquiry the tele-constituency? I mean, please, this 23rd of August was the cutoff date for registering as a new registrant for voting. Who knew that? So anybody, they're wasting their time. If they want to vote, they can't. And to be very frank with you, I may be wrong, but I believe that the persons who want to register now are not persons who want to vote for the current slate or the entire slate. That's what I believe. Always have an anti. Sometimes we say about us in Trinidad with voting. We don't vote for a party, we vote to get them out.
Yes.
So I just find the communication, the almost, it's just like, why are you keeping on? You should you have money building a brand new Palace house. You don't have enough money to put up ads in the papers telling people that the 23rd of August is the last day for registering if you wish to participate in the electoral process. I mean, wouldn't you do that if you really wanted that? So all of that, the boxes, I am not taking your word for it because you have a vested interest in the outcome. You're not independent. The 3 days, you could tell me you could do it, but I will ask you why. And the third thing I said is the lack of clarity of what day you could register. And then when the list goes up, because when I went in there and spoke to someone, a very nice person, so I'm not going to call their name because they were very kind and nice to me, but they didn't even know themselves. Imagine you are there in a very senior position in this whole process and you yourself don't even know. You are not even sure. So if you're not sure and you are involved at the highest level in that process or at one of the highest level and you're not sure about exactly what date it goes off and when you can say, what do you leave for the man in the street?
That's
and
right.
Then it goes up. Then it goes up to Balize House. And then what are the requirements? That's where you're talking about transparency and accountability. I mean, the Prime Minister said he left, he wanted nothing to do with the government because there was no accountability over UDCOT. That's what he gave us a reason. So why don't we know what are the factors you take into account in deciding that this person could be registered to vote and this person can't? The whole thing is mired unnecessarily in a cloak and dagger kind of thing, which is not good for the party, and which is what we are. This is one of the reasons I am doing this. Just to let you know. Hi, Richard.
Yes, he's here.
Yeah, Richard, nice and quiet. Richard, why is so quiet?
He's listening to you.
He's so looking serious.
No, because I'm listening to you, Karen. I'm listening to you, Karen. How else would I get the information?
Oh Lord, okay. It's like, you sound like a student, but for a teacher. I'm gonna send you the note. I'm gonna put you in the naughty corner, Right?
No, I don't want to go there either.
You telling the
and
teacher?
I don't want to go there either, Karen.
But I think, you're looking like you want to go there, because when I talking as a teacher and I ask you, then you tell me, oh, else I'll get information. I think you want to go in that naughty corner and go down on your knees. And if you're a Roman Catholic, you will say 5, 10 Hail Marys and 1 Our Father and an act of contrition.
Well, then let me rephrase that before you get me to do something.
Okay. No, but Karen, all joking aside,
I am listening to you, and you are making some serious points, and it's important to understand what is happening.
Right. Now, what I wanted to say, and that is want to be clear, as crystal clear as I can be. I understand where the PNM, there is a strong loyalty. And from Point Fortin, where I grew up, as I said, a lot of the people from Point Fortin are originally from St. Vincent and Grenada. Yes. A lot of them, was generations. So Point Fortin is an area where you have generations and generations of families who grew up in Point Fortin. All right? And they love the PM. They love Eric Williams. Sometimes I go Grenada, you would swear Eric Williams was he's long dead, This way he was still their prime minister. There was their prime minister. So my point being that I understand why people may say, oh my gosh, if we support current Nunez Tesheira as political leader, they feel some sense of the betrayal. But this is not so at all. I'll say two things on that. One, usually when you challenge for the leadership is usually when you're in opposition. And it's safe to do that, let's be frank, because at that point in time, you have no power to take something away from me. You don't have the power to take away a contract, a CPEP, a senatorship, a cabinet appointment. In other words, you have no power. So that may be considered the safest time to do it. This time now, you have a prime minister, which we all respect, and I am saying it straight out, that is our prime minister. That is our prime minister. But what we are seeing played out in a way that we would never have seen, and therefore we see that the importance of dealing with the foundation of the party is that when we transition from party leader and transition into government, because that's the purpose, major purpose of the party, you know what I mean? You're not there to sing Kumbaya. I mean, you could sing Kumbaya, but it's not there for Kumbaya. You're there to form the government, the national government of the country. So it's a sort of a opportunity for people who are looking to see, well, who should I support, to see what kind of foundation that party has. And in this case, they have seen the transitioning actually from political party to prime minister. And without saying much on it, I will just say that we just have to read the newspapers, and I will talk about it a little more, but we just have to read the newspaper. And we know there is a sense of discontent, disaffection, and alienation. It's not Karen Nunez Tesheira come in and saying that. Every day you read it. I'm not even talking about who you meet on the street. I'm talking about the newspapers are carrying it. So something is wrong. There is a disconnect from party leadership to head of the government running the government. And what should have happened and what must happen is that transition from those two roles, because they're inextricably bound. We should make sure that the elements of transparency and accountability, the foundation that you put in place is so strong and so attractive and so transparent that people will see that transitioning into the leadership of the country. And that is what our role is. Our role is not to destroy anything. Although I see they mash up the whole of Balize House. It was like they didn't really found something. Like they had an insight and decide that the foundation is such a bad state, we need to knock it down. I don't think that's why they did it. I think it was, I have my views on it. It's a very sad thing to do, I have to say, because I thought the Prime Minister, which I gave him credit for, respected our historic buildings and knocked it down into oblivion, not even leave. I can't see anything left of what was Balize House. So it makes you wonder, you want something in your name. You want that you did this, like a vanity project. And that's very sad. But it also says that they probably knew that the foundation was, in a way, metaphorically, they realized the foundation was such a mess that it needed to be destroyed. So we respect the post of the Prime Minister, and we are here to do the necessary work to build the foundation so the house does not collapse on itself, and that recognize some of the weaknesses, work together with the members of the party so that we come out stronger, that people have confidence, and that we can start to have people join the party because they say they have that confidence in the leadership. They say, well, if that's how they're running their party, then that's how they will run the government.
Well, I would say, Karen, to begin with, the Balize House part, and I know we chatted briefly on that last week, and I embrace what was expressed last week, which is the demolishing the building, and I believe that to get rid of all the history that is attached to it, the historic value of Balize House and what it contained within it over the many decades. It has been there as the headquarters of the People's National Movement. When the fine standing there now, and as though the history begins from this point onwards, I could tell is a most unpleasant history, if that is the situation. It is one that, this one that is being created is the one that should have been removed and rooted out utterly and thrown away. Not what was destroyed with the house that they demolished before, but the Lord has a way of working things out, and this will work its way out as well. Because I don't think too many people appreciate, as you have said, you read the papers, wherever you go, whatever people say. People have made up their minds about this gentleman. I always find him to be a decent gentleman, a family person, and so on. We took a chance with him, supported him to become the Prime Minister of the country. Sadly, he has not produced what we expected him to produce anywhere close to our expectation. And therefore, notwithstanding his best efforts, he has come significantly short of what people expected as this bright man from Tobago, fearless, sometimes sounds ruthless, and he would straighten things out and get the job done and put Trinidad and Tobago back to work and have everybody operate in the way they ought to operate, and crime will be a thing of the past under him and so on. Crime has gone up, poverty gone up, slackness increase, loose-mouthness increase, foolishness increase. Anything is anything in this country. People killing people without a mask on their face. I mean, this is like watching, if you ever saw the animation of The Lion King, when Mufasa had the jungle so nicely structured and with his family, and then they kill Simba, and then his brother, who was what I call him, a very strange name the other lion had, wanted to lead, and he took the lead after he set up his brother and killed him because of his son. And when he took over, the jungle became a mess, everything out of control. You know why? He got into a partnership with the very thing Mufasa say keep out, the hyenas. When he went and struck a deal with the hyenas to help him kill Mufasa by taking his newly born son out of the area Mufasa told him not to go and into the hyenas territory. And then he run and tell Mufasa, Simba in trouble. So Mufasa now drop everything, that's his son, and run across a trap they have for him. How they stop everything. And they kill Mufasa. Scar of all names. No, I didn't name him that. That's what he did. But my point is, the place became so completely different to what it was before under Mufasa. That is what has happened to Trinidad and Tobago. Patrick Manning had this country so well organized. Look at Ryson Road. People believe it's parts of Miami. Look at where we are going with the government plaza and all those things, with significantly less money that this government has spent from 2015 to now. There's no major project that has inspired anyone or that could inspire anyone. Everything those great leaders of the PNM before put their shoulders to the wheel to accomplish for this country to make people's lives better. This current PNM administration, they're dismantling everything. Everything, this isn't good for you, take that. They're paying too little for gas, increase it. And then they come to tell you, well, they ain't gonna touch cooking gas like they do in your paper. This is the most annoying. And people say, look, you coming from Central, and have a big sign up here. You saw it? In boots. HYMC. Karen, do you have any idea what that means?
Yes. Oh God. Even I can figure that out. Even I can figure that out.
I just started off. I interpret that. I was saying,
I can figure it out.
How you managing the country? I told somebody that. He said, Noray, only you alone could interpret that way. You know? So he said, I forgive you. He said, Noray, I'll start the talk for you. Call you, and he done.
I think you invited me to consider other interpretations.
You know what?
David, you know I'll always go to you. I think he invited me to go to other interpretations of that acronym.
Is there any other interpretation? I thought was how you managing the country. How you managing the country. I said, all right, let me start it off here. Hold it. Stop there.
Well, you know, though,
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Yeah.
I just want to say this. I want you to, you know, to continue. And of course, Daddy Mark is now David is like part issue. I don't know if I was supposed to allow that in any way, but I feel as if I know David. By the way, I'm going point 14 tonight. As soon as I finish the show, I'm finishing 5 minutes early, and I'm down point 14.
Karen, right? Go to every constituency. Talk to all. You just got 20 people to vote alone. I think you can get 18.
I started my campaign in point 14. Tonight, turning it off. And David says, look out for him. Good.
Yes.
So what I want to say, you understand now, it's like, I will make this example of a student and a teacher. While you were a student in the school, you had a different perspective. Oh, this about the school, this and that. Once you become a teacher, you take on a different perspective as a result. So why I'm saying that in the context of my challenging for party leadership, my role here today, going forward, is to deal with what I think the party needs to re-energize, reinvigorate, and create that sort of confidence in it and attract more persons. So all I will say on that, now that I'm wearing that hat, and I do not want it to be said that I am fighting the Prime Minister. I am absolutely not. He is our Prime Minister. What I am saying is, what we're seeing as our Prime Minister, I won't go into all the examples that I've given in the past, but I'll say this one thing. And the one thing that is very glaring is a sense of disconnect, a sense of disalienation from the man in the street. I mean, you know, I don't know if having the $1,200 plate dinner and then dancing up the tango in front of people who are literally cannot feed their children and get money to go to school. I mean, that is so insensitive, that is so out of touch. It's like you're living in an ivory. Don't you know the hurt and pain people are going through? The one thing I agree that he didn't even do it. was the capping on the tax exemptions for cars. And he was one of the few that was about at $350. But he's tone deaf to that. And that is where the car party is in real trouble. People, and that's the large majority of the population, feel disconnected, unheard, disenfranchised, and then they come around at national elections and trying to fool me up and tell me to look for my vote. And, and that is the problem. That is the problem. And if I could just say, I know I said it before, but it needs repeating, right? Because the symbolism is very important. When you, in response to people's hurt and pain and anguish, which is very live, and there are people in this country, maybe it's about 5%, for whom buying 10 bottles of, not even Veuve Clicquot, that's not even high enough, a Moet et Chardon, or even there's a higher one than that, whatever. It's not Moet, it's Moet, just in case. It's from Belgium. If you notice, the E has 2 dots. Everybody says Moet, as if that makes them sound fancy. But they could have as much Johnny Walker Blue, they could have they could do that. There are people who could do that. But you have to understand, the vast majority are suffering in quiet desperation out of their pride. And so you don't see that. That's what happened to the Noray, The Noray at least the Noray tried. I give them that. At least the Noray tried. And you did not hear of any corruption. Yes, then the whole party break up when Pandey went his way and all of that back and that. But I don't think you heard the kind of, what you're hearing now. What it was is the sense of absolute disconnect with the country, which I understand what was the straw that brought the camel's back was when Ian Robinson stood up in the parliament and said they were going to erect a statue in honor of, what her name is? The gas station. Jean Miles for $30,000. Right? And that was that was it. Because that was political revenge. That was not doing something to honor her, really. You could say that if you want, but it was political revenge. So what I'm saying is that your response to people suffering is to tell them first, and it's like everybody was singing from the same, it's not a hymn, it couldn't be a hymn. I don't know what is the book they were using, but everybody was singing from that, or reading from that same book. The Prime Minister saying, what are you doing on the road 8 o'clock in the night? What are you doing on the road 8 o'clock in the night and burning up fuel? And why all you have to go to work all the same time at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock? Why you don't start get out? So not all this traffic jam. People have children. Then this one on the bicycle with a breadfruit. But it didn't look like a breadfruit to me. It looked like a Chenet thing because it's too long in shape. But who am I to know? Right? And he's on a bicycle, right? And then the other one, Shamfa, with a bold-faced self. You wrote 57,000 or whatever in Reuben Child, which you did not intend to. The country forgive you, but you want to preach to people. You want to talk down to people. You want to talk to people as if they are nothing, right? This is what is an coal pot. And why stop eating how many macaroni pie, What is that? It's unbelievable. So all I am saying in the context of the party elections, I am saying that there is definitely a disconnect, a level of alienation, disenfranchisement, and pain that from the middle class that is quickly disappearing because of the cost of food. Trinidad and the IMF said we're among the 20 worst performing economies in the world because our real GDP, meaning that even though we made all that extra money, that money was from oil and gas, and it really wasn't. It was a result of the increase in price of those products. And by the way, do you see what's happening with oil? It's dropping steadily. I already said that you should never put $92. You should never put $92.
What's the price today?
Today was $84. And it's keeping in that. I think I may have said $85. And I may think it should have gone lower. But I know, I think I said $80, but they could always look back at a table and tell me I'm not speaking truth, but I know I didn't say 70 something, so I probably would say 80. And I said that because from my experience, you always give yourself wiggle room because your different ministries come with a list of what they want. You can't give it to them because it's a limited budget, a limited pie, but you say, well, we can relook at it if things get better. And I know he had to know that price was too high. Now, one of the reasons people give or putting it that high is that he wouldn't have to put any money in the Heritage and Civilization Fund, right? Because in order to do that, the price that you budgeted for must exceed by 10% the budgeted price. So that price of $92 may, because it's about 14 years, they have not put any money into the HSF. The sad thing what's happening with the HSF, he has always boasted that the HSF, oh, I took out the money, but we recovered. That was because the economy in America with the bonds and with the on the stock exchange was doing extremely well. But that's not the case now. He told you he put money this year, 1 million TT, but he didn't tell you, like how he would tell you before. It had X amount before I put it in, and we have X amount. He didn't tell you that. He didn't want to talk about that at all. Right? So he didn't want to talk about it. That's an inconvenient truth. That's an inconvenient truth. So what I'm saying to you, this battle is about is to restore confidence and trust in the party, because they've been too much painful things, and it's like, as I told you with Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. I mean, that has endured centuries, because that statement attributed to her summed up the level of disconnect and alienation that the king and his courtiers had from the ordinary rank and file people who were suffering, and that was like the last straw for them. So dancing with the riot and looking pretty and all of that, when people suffering, is that the thing you really want to do? I'm not trying to go and sit down and do like a suffering either, but at the same point in time, you have to be able to be more nuanced and more sensitive to people. This is what you're going there for. If you didn't want to do it right, nobody forced you to do it. If you don't want to serve them people, if you only want to serve 5%, and you don't want to serve them because you, for whatever reason, but don't go up. Go and join one of the 5% companies and be the executive director, and you'll be happy there. But don't come and want to say you want to be run this country, and you showing that disregard and disrespect for people. And that is what we want. And people know what I'm saying is true. I am not there to fight the prime minister. He is the prime minister. What I'm saying is, they are fishers, they are cracks, they are that within the leadership of the country, and we want to save the PNM. We want to bring it back to its original moorings and stay true to its mission. Yes, the 5% must have money, but the rest of the country must too have the opportunity. Nobody's saying they can't have. They must have, because they contribute, but there's a way they contribute, how they contribute, we have to look at. Richard, I think I talked it out.
The problem is, you hear me?
Yes, it's sort of soft, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you hit it on the head again, Karen. All that you have said overall, it doesn't matter what we say about the prime minister or the country or how people feel about him and so on. The one thing I believe we all ought to agree on in a simplistic way now is that we just need a new direction, Karen. We can't just keep on talking about all the sides that are not necessarily supportive to the country. 7 years you have had the job, to turn the country around. When you got it, it was about to enter the stage of being in need for turnaround. It wasn't in need of turnaround in 2015, It was about to enter that phase, because think back to 2015. You and I and others, we weren't feeling any recession, Things were going normal, They're the ones who came in and tell us we're in a recession. It was two economists who told us, the country, we were in recession before people felt it. And then from that day to now, the government set off towards fixing an economy, which meant neglecting the people of this country from 2015 to now. We didn't mind that in 2015, 16 and 17, but I maintain, you see, from 2018 to now, this government is responsible for how things are in the country today. And the time has come for us to try something new. You hear me, Karen?
Yes, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
We're hearing you. Yes, I'm listening to what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we need a change, and we need a change now. No joke. We must
That's
do
what
differently.
everybody says.
How could you expect, just as you hear them talk about the definition of insanity, how we keep on doing the same thing all the time and expect a different outcome? We are not crazy people. We are reasonable people. We gave him a reasonable amount of time to effect change, to produce a different direction, to produce a different outcome. He has not done that. We are not looking into him personally. I would always maintain, as Daddy Mac would tell you from then to now, I always like him. I love him on the platform. He's one of the nicest guys I know.
He's a good talker. He's a good talker. I used to love to hear him. You know who I used to love to hear? Him. And she's originally from St. Vincent. With you call her neighbors one of the potential, because she has a very clear, distinct way of talking. She's the Minister of Planning. I don't know why
Penny.
Not Penny. Penny is a good person, but platform speaker.
Oh no, I was saying, if you say Minister of Planning, Penny's that.
Oh, Penny's Minister of Planning now? So what is that?
She's housing.
She's housing. What's her name?
Yeah.
Camille Robinson Regis.
Yeah, Camille Robinson Regis. This is when I was not involved in politics, but I was really against the UNC. Bad. Right? So I was involved at the constituency level, doing whatever I had to do. I used to go around from house to house, and whatever I had to do, I did, And the people that impressed me as speaking on the platform then was Robinson Regis, and of course Keith Rowley, Dr. Keith Rowley. They definitely were really good and good platform speakers. I mean, that is a fact. In later years under Mr. Manning, I found that who used to impress me as a newcomer is Mustafa Abdul Hamid. He was also, there were some people who could command, had that passion. So we're not here, and I'm not here to destroy. I hope I'm here to restore, because restoration is necessary. It's too late to build back, to fix the foundation, because they've obliterated it. So that foundation, metaphorically, symbolically, has gone. But we definitely need change, and it starts with the leadership of the party, because it is the party leadership and the party itself that prepares you for national governance. So it's there is where you sow your seeds, your teething problems, your issues, your attractiveness to people who may have lost faith in the party. This is where you build back that faith and build back, and that's what we want to do, so that at the end of the day, that people who may have decided, they're tired with politics, all the politicians are the same old, all of them corrupt, all of them in it for themselves. And listen to me, I wouldn't lie to you, Richard and David, I wouldn't lie to you. A lot of times when they say that, there's a lot of truth in it, I wouldn't lie to you. Sometimes when you could get very disillusioned. I'm not saying that about anybody, I'm making a general statement. But I understand the sense of betrayal that people have, and the sense of what's the difference. But I'm telling you that my going up for chairman is Ken Butcher. Everybody know the Butcher boys. I didn't realize, I found out he had two sisters, because it was 9 boys on Eastern Main Road and involved in football and all of that. So he's my chairman, hopefully. And so we want to be in the key positions within the party leadership, so that we can effect the change that people want to see from within, so that we see it reflected outside. That's our objective. But
I had a guy called Neil Parsonlal. Remember him?
Of course, he worked in the media, had a perfect pitch in speaking, and he was the one that he'd always say this. I know Neil for this. He would say, facts are stubborn things. They will never go away. He'd always say that. That was something you knew that he would say nearly every time he spoke in Parliament.
Okay. But I was pleased with him and his command of the English language on the platform, decency and control.
Yes, very much so.
And Patrick Manning, they were my favorite speakers quite some time. Mr. Manning was always decent. He'll take a few moments to hit a little pecan, a little
Yeah,
facetiousness there, but he would stay the course as a political leader and prime minister. He would never
absolutely.
compromise that.
But
Dr.
you know,
Rowley, as Mr. Manning named him, and we had him down for good entertainment, but he was also bright, how he came across, eloquent, and aggressive, and I still like him for that. I still admire him for that. And I really was
there's something wrong with it, though. I want to say, though, Richard, can I say something that's wrong with that, though?
Of course, Karen, we give way to you every time, Karen. We just
we have to speak about the bacchanal with the DPP, and my speech in Washington and the risking, right? But yes, that's a good strength, because I don't know if you watch these shows, those shows where the cop shows where they interrogated somebody and they play good cop, bad cop. So Mr. Manning never read from a speech. He just spoke. He knew his facts, and he commanded your attention. And he did it in a way that was consistent with who he was, which was a kind of a statesman-like delivery. That was who he was, And of course, he commanded your attention. He commanded your respect, not demanded it. And then he had the bad cop, which is bad cop role, I should say, of Dr. Rowley. But you see, the thing about doing that on the platform, you can't do that as a government minister or running a government, because what that does, that same passion that you put on the thing, it can turn into, it's a two-edged sword. It can turn into a level of belligerence, a level of unapproachability, a level of fear, a level of you dare not say anything, and that's, if it translates from the platform into how you govern, then you have to be very concerned. You need a strong leader. Mr. Manning was a strong leader. He was a no-nonsense leader. When you say cabinet starting at 9 o'clock or whatever time, you better be in that room at 9 o'clock. He's not telling you anything, But you walk in there, you better be in the room at 9 o'clock. He was a disciplinarian, but he never shouted at anybody, never embarrassed anybody, never did anything like that. So that was how he conducted himself on the platform, is how he conducted himself in governance. How Dr. Rowley conducted himself on the platform is not suitable, in my respectful opinion, or not appropriate for governance in a democratic society. It is not. And what he does, and what he does by that, either he deflects, so doesn't answer, or he boof, boof, boof. So it's like a woman, I always use the example. The man know he's messing around, but he come home now. He says, she don't ask me anything, He stand up there, going on the offense. The best of defense is offense. And he does that. And it's not good for country. It's not good for people. It's not good for the morale, the whole sense of belonging. It's not good that you feel that you can't. It's not, that you have a prime minister that all ready to, but I don't want to go down that route. I'm not there. All I'm saying is that these examples of the platform into government and now dealing with the party leadership, it translates into national governance. And if these issues that people are concerned about are not dealt with at the party level, it is going to find itself filtering into the national leadership. And what we want to do is to help the foundation of the party and the transitioning to be one in accord with each other, which I don't think it is at this point in time. So we hope that what we're doing at the end of the day is for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, which is our first responsibility, because that's what you want as a party. A party is not there to the party, because then you shouldn't be in government. You are the people. You are there for all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So what you want to do is show people that if they're given a chance, you will do the right thing. And it starts from the party itself, gives people a sense of an insight into what to expect. And unfortunately, I think Maya Angelou says, if someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them.
Well, Karen, I believe that, and Dr. Rowley did indicate to us, from way in advance, from the onset, the type of person he was on the platform. And I think he was telling us the truth then. And we are witnessing it playing out today from then to now. the sad reality is to how he started and what we knew of him then is that was mild compared to what we're witnessing now. Because what we are witnessing now is not what we witnessed back then, Back then, get a little pecan. Like one thing he said in Barataria Salmon when he was condemning the UNC, he said he saw a letter where they wrote the bank requesting permission to steal. I mean, that brought the house down. I always remember, I became a fan at that moment. That's how I remember that. But that wasn't so bad. People at Nemessa Manning came on and said he had court closed. He can't say that, if you know what I mean. If they come to ask any question, his name is Dr. Rowley. You know what I mean? They could talk to him. So I remember that in Barataria San Juan, and I liked him for that. Now, if I compare that to what is happening today, it's a very different state of affairs. I mean, when you're talking about the comparison to women and the kind of advice to people and crime out of control because of bad parenting, as though it's only Trinidad and Tobago alone have bad parenting. I believe it has some bad parenting as a part of the problem. But it has bad parenting in China too. It has bad parenting in India. Much bigger population.
Look, Richard, you understand that is just a deflect from the real problem. Let me not go in, and I don't want to go down. And Richard,
no, but I have to say no, because people must know why we need a change. Because
and I don't. You understand that I now have taken upon myself to take on the role of party leader, and I am just saying that because of that, I know that I would want to address all those concerns that we all have in a way that will restore confidence, because right now it's at a low point. But Richard, I want to ask you something. You're not interested in the DPP and Vincent Nelson and Faris Arawi, huh?
What I am looking forward to your legal.
What do you think? Because that thing is a big bundle.
I know she did with us, but I was saying I will wait for Karen too. Let me get her perspective. Karen, Daddy Mac will tell you, share yours with us. I will tell you what I've heard so far.
Yeah, what you think? What is your? Let me hear. And Daddy Mac too. I want to hear.
But what happened with the DPP and Nelson?
That whole thing. What is your take on the whole thing? What's your understanding
about the entire thing? It's mixed. One, it's a feeling of ambivalence. I know you know what that means. Like,
but it's not for me to know that. It's your listeners to know that. What is it? Huh? Go ahead. Danny Mark, what you tell me? I know what that means. Right now.
I didn't ask if you know what that means, I told you, I know, you know.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. My apologies. I
could ever be so out of place. I lecturing, you would in law school, one of the best minds in the Caribbean.
Okay, Mr. CEO. Okay, Mr.
CEO. In this country, one of the persons who everybody tuned into this station on a Monday to hear, a person everybody want to see become the political leader of the People's National Movement. Karen, come on. How I
go ahead. You go ahead. I want to hear what you think it's true. No, I'm serious. I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, what I think about it is, as I said, it's a feeling for me of ambivalence.
Right.
Kind of like and dislike. Why? Because if on one hand, it is the correct thing to do, then as bitter as it may be, it's the correct thing to do.
When you say thing, what's the thing you're talking about?
To discontinue the matter, which is what the DPP did, right? On the other hand, when you study what the offenses were that we have heard about and the amount of money that is involved and the amount of money Faris Alwari allegedly spent on this matter and so on, for it to, I mean, look at it this way: we are trying to get back money. That is one of it, because it's saying he was confessing, my understanding, that he got money that he passed back on. So it was a kind of kickback arrangement, so that there was a conspiracy to take money from the state in such a way. And on top of that, instead of getting back that money or some of it, the then Attorney General spent a lot of money to try to see if he could bring someone to justice on this or these matters. And then the DPP now is saying the principal a witness is no longer willing to participate because he's saying they breached an agreement he had with them, which was this matter should not have ended up in the public domain, and now it has, and they have compromised him outside of Trinidad, and to some extent, a lesser extent in Trinidad and Tobago too. And if they could have breached that, he's not going any further. The DPP saying, well, if he is no longer willing to testify, the case has become threadbare. Technically, there's nothing to go on. And that to me is the downside to it. Because there must be another avenue. You know, people talking about civil action or the charges could be relayed and so on. Mr. Nelson apparently has an agreement. And where he's concerned, they have already violated it. So how you can now pull back what has happened? When a cow gets away from you, it makes sense holding the chain. So people tell you put on the chain.
I never try to do it, but I will bear that in mind.
But you know, there are people looking for the cow and they pick up the chain. And they're holding the cow still connected.
Do you know, human beings, we have that sense of hope.
Yes.
What is hope, right? Rest in the human breast, you know what I mean? But you know what I'll tell you, Richard? No, that's because of my political legal, and I will say this. First thing I will say is that I did spend a lot of time over the weekend trying to unravel the story, you know, trying to get a sense of what happened. I would say firstly that the anxiety and the drive to get a big a political opponent, such as the Attorney General of the former government, the UNC, would be a big win for Faris Arawi as a new Attorney General. So I think in that anxiety and that desire to bring home a big fish and, you know, and have the glory and all of that that goes with it, caused him to make many missteps. Because we are not, everything you're getting in pieces and pieces and pieces and pieces. And within those pieces that we are getting, there are obviously conversations that would have been occurring that we were not going to be privy to. My view is that the DPP, who I have a lot of respect for, was absolutely frustrated. And he knew that once the Vincent Nelson, you see, it's all gets so confused. The first thing was, I believe, very early on, under Anand Ramlogan, he was owed about over £1 million. And Faris Arawi, my understanding, paid in that money that was on their account and settled that day. Then the next thing that happened was in 2017, when he did this notarized statement about giving evidence against Anand Ramlogan, both in the civil matter, which is the Attorney General, and that he would try to persuade the DPP, because he can't tell the DPP what to do. DPP is constitutionally insulated from political interference, right? Try to not seek a custodial sense. That's what he said in it. And that he would get the Mercy Committee, that he would say that the sum of £12 million owing between the loss of clients that he would give him, it would be returned to him, that he would not be prosecuted. I mean, that there will be a pardon given to him within a month of him being cleared of any criminal wrongdoing, because they gave him a number of and that they would not disclose to any external body, which is the United Kingdom, the current proceeding. You can't do that, one, because you can't agree to break the law. It's like saying, I agree not to let anyone know that I sold you 10 pounds of cocaine. I mean, they just can't do that. That's illegal. And you couldn't agree to that. So my thinking is this. I think in 2017, when I tried to patch it together, he was so anxious to get it done. Lawyers take the instructions from their client, not the other way around. And oftentimes, you know, from my own experience of being a client myself, they will tell you they don't think that will fly, they don't think that is this. At the end of the day, it is the client will say, but you would have warned them. So the contents of that indemnity provision, that clause, whilst he says he relied on two senior counsel, they won't say anything. They're not going to come out and say anything. They're oath of confidential. They're not going to say anything. But I have a feeling they're fuming mad, because I believe that he instructed them to put all of that in. And I believe they might have told him that that was not a lot of these things that he was promising, he couldn't deliver. You can't tell the DPP what to do, right? And all of that, I believe they would have told him that, but may or may not have. And that was the indemnity clause. So between 2017 and 2019, there is this big break, this hiatus. It is only in 2019 that the file is sent over to the DPP. Only in 2019 that he gets all the documents that would put him in a position, including the notarized statement of Vincent Nelson admitting to wrongdoing. It's only then that the DPP, a separate office, if you look, when it's a criminal matter, it's the state that sues. When it is a civil matter, it is the Attorney General. They're two separate offices. And I think in 2019, when that information was given to him, he entered into a plea agreement, which he can, and which he did, saying to the Mr. Nelson that if he was prepared to give evidence in the criminal trial of Ram Logan and Ram Dean, he was prepared not to seek a custodial sentence and to drop one of the charges. That's what you do with plea agreements. We waive the death penalty and go for a life sentence because you cooperated and you given us information without which we couldn't successfully prosecute. You are key to this. You are key to it. So we have a plea agreement. That's separate and apart from what the AG did. Separate and apart. So when he had got all those documents in 2019, he immediately charged Ram Logan and Ram Dean, as well as Vincent Nelson. And in March 2020, Vincent Nelson was fined $2.5 million, a bond to keep the peace for 3 years, as well as, yes. So that March 2020, Justice Malcolm dealt with the plea agreement, which the DPP had entered into with Vincent Nelson in order for him to give evidence in the criminal proceedings against Ram Dean and Ram Logan, which is perfectly legitimate. What has happened is this, and my respectful opinion from reading the letters, because I got copies of the letters, but it was in the papers. I didn't go and get it, surreptitiously. I got it in the papers. What happened was that in that indemnity clause, he promised the moon and the stars, some of which he could not deliver. And about the moon and the stars that he promised, that the AG department would pay all his legal fees going forward, would make sure he gets, as I told you, a pardon from the president, which is an executive authority, really. It's not really the president. If you look at section 86, 87, the president acts on the advice of the prime minister, who is advised by an advisory committee. So he promised the moon and stars to this man, promised him to pay off millions of dollars in his legal fees. And what was happening, BCI out of London, who started writing to the Attorney General, from what I got in the papers, saying, listen, you have breached the indemnity clause because you have failed since May 2019 to pay any invoices that we have sent to you. And at this point in time, we are not able to continue to represent the client. And he is saying that he's going to take the Attorney General, the state, to court for breach of the indemnity agreement. When that happened, the AG improperly wrote to the DPP to advise him of this and to get him involved. And the DPP properly told him that's nothing to do with me. Don't get me involved in that. With all due respect, that's the civil action. I'm not involved with that. Don't get me involved with that. So the BCI then wrote again saying, you know what? If you don't pay us, that is what it started with, payment of money that they say we're owing, and threatening to take breach of the damages for breach of the indemnity agreement. That was what was put forward in the statement. Again, he wrote, this was really improper. I read the letter, really improper. He writes now back to the DPP, that's the AG, and telling him that, well, I'm sure we're going to win if we go to court, but the adverse public publicity will, of course, affect a criminal trial because it's a pre-trial sort of, a lot of cases where they say you already form an opinion and it's a jury trial, although now you can have a trial by a judge alone in our system now. But the pre-trial publicity, negative publicity, will be unfair to the defendants as Ram Lugan and Ramdeen. So he is suggesting that maybe we should go for arbitration. But he then tells the DPP, but you know what? I am not saying we must go for arbitration, which means they close doors. I'm not saying we should go to arbitration. And that's after Nelson's lawyers say we're going to go for breach of the indemnity provision, which means they've taken everything and bringing it all out in the open. So all the conversations and everything that we didn't know about, they were going to review. They were threatened. That was the threat, I believe. And the DPP turned around and said, no. I have nothing to do with that. Do not bring me into that. That's outside my purview. He's trying to pull the DPP into something, and he even knew that he shouldn't have done it, because in the first letter he said, I do not want to be accused of undue influence. What are you writing the DPP? DPP dealing with a plea agreement and getting Nelson to give evidence against these two men in a criminal trial in exchange for not seeking a non-custodial sentence against him. The AG is involved in the civil matter, misbehaving in public office, and now what has happened, and signed this indemnity clause that promised Vincent Nelson the moon and the stars and could not deliver. Among the things that he promised to do, which he could not promise, I mean, I think Stuart Wrong is right. I don't know if he is the one that revealed it. I don't know how it came to the attention of the CDA. I think it's in UK, the criminal, anyway, it has the criminal department, that Vincent Nelson was had been convicted of charges of conspiracy, etc., etc. And when that came to their attention, they called in Mr. Nelson and started speaking to Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson now says, well, look at what you have done to me now. I agreed with all your indemnity provisions. I agreed to be a witness, but now I might not be able to practice again. My law firm has thrown me out. I now can't get a practitioner's license, which you have to get every year, because now I'm considered unfit to practice, so I cannot practice. You have destroyed my career and the monies that I would have made. And so now he decided, after this filed for breach of the indemnity agreement, he said, you know what? I'm going to disclose to the public exactly what were the terms and conditions and everything that was sealed, because the proceedings were sealed. He said, I apply to get it unsealed. And you know what my bottom line is this? I think the DPP is fuming mad, because all that he said was this. He said when he went to the chief magistrate to say that he was discontinuing, he said, I know some of the main consideration is if you believe there is a good chance of success and victory. He said, at the same point in time, you also have to weigh the negative publicity and the credibility and reliability of the key witness, Vincent Nelson, if we were to go ahead with this matter. Because once it comes out in his breach of, this claim for breach of the indemnity clause, all the nastiness that was going on and all the things that he was involved in, when you bring him as a witness, his credibility will be completely destroyed and tarnished. And that, I believe, was the DPP trying to be as discreet as he always is, but I think he must have been fuming mad that he felt that Faris Al-Rawi destroyed his case against the criminal proceedings by agreeing to these provisions, which he has nothing to do with. And every time the DPP, Faris Al-Rawi trying to bring him in, he telling him, do not bring me in. That has nothing to do with me. And I think it's improper for you to be asking me, asking my opinion on matters of civil matters, and please do desist from that. So he's saying now that Faris Al-Rawi, with that indemnity clause, not paying him, because the initial thing was not what they're reporting now, that they breached the agreement, that they were not going to let the British know that he had been convicted. But the initial letters that I read was that they're saying you have not paid our invoices since May 2019. And on the indemnity provision, you agreed that I would keep all the money that was owed to me by the former Anand Ramluga, which they paid over £1 million. They paid him that, right? And they said that they would pay all his legal fees, that they would get a pardon, and that they would not report this matter to any jurisdiction outside of Trinidad and Tobago. In other words, they promised things that they could not keep. And what the DPP is saying now is that you put yourself into that hole, that man is a QC, now KC they call him, who is no fool. And he said, I'm going and sue you for breach of indemnity agreement. And you know what? You don't want me to do that. Because when I sue for breach of indemnity agreement, a lot of what is not known in the public is going to come out. And I'm going to ask I never asked for the proceedings to be sealed, and I'm going to make an application for the civil proceedings to be unsealed so people can see everything. And the poor DPP must have been beside himself dealing with Faris Al-Rawi, trying to tell him, stop writing me, stop asking for my opinion. Look at where you have us now, that I have to now drop this matter because, by the way, he promised it is only until the civil matter is finished, as part of the indemnity agreement, I believe, only until the civil matters are finished would he then be able to start the criminal prosecution. He messed up the DPP. He screwed over the DPP, and the DPP had no other choice, given what happened at that end. But to grudgingly, in my respectful opinion, I may have gotten some of it wrong, but you have to forgive me. I'm reading the papers and putting 2 and 2 together, and I hope I got 4. But I think that Roger Gaspard is a man of great integrity, and I think he was beside himself with what that Faris Al-Rawi did. And Faris Al-Rawi is bad enough that you made a mess of it, but I didn't do anything. I relied on the advice of senior counsel. No, you give senior counsel instructions. You give them that. You act on, a lawyer acts on instructions of his client. I mean, that is so below the belt to do something like that. I am sure that if I don't have all the facts, I've been in government, I know a lot of things go on that you don't know behind the scenes. I'm sure there were conversations offline, but I'm sure the DPP told him, leave me out of your matter. You're doing crap, you're doing stupidness, because you so want to, and I believe that it wasn't so much, in my respectful opinion, wanting to deal with corruption. It was the same thing they had with Colder Heart, getting Colder Heart. Colder Heart is a big fish for them. And for the government, Anand Ramlugan was big. And Anand Ramlugan, I don't think we could question that there's a lot of against him. I mean, that's the thing. Don't go and paint him into an angel, which he is not. Neither he nor Ramdeen. I think they had enough. But their principal witness, Vincent Nelson, was showing to what DPP saw. If I go to the criminal court with this matter, this man has no darn credibility. So that's my take on it.
Could you share with us, if you know, what are some of the things exactly the Attorney General promised Mr. Nelson?
Oh, I have it right here. Vincent Nelson is seeking 99 million. The sum of over 12 million, which he would have earned as a barrister from third-party clients, loss of benefits of his medical insurance. This is the claim he's making. But no, what he had promised in the indemnity agreement, and a number of things, that they would pay all his legal costs in any matter that came up. They would cover the legal costs. They would also get this pardon for him from the president. And that's what they were going after, the legal costs initially, because they were saying you stop paying it and you breach your agreement. So I think it's in the papers. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it was a lot of promises. I mean, the promises that were made there. Let me see. The promises that were made there. I mean, it is so because that's what they talked about. You see, when BCL is solicitors in November 23, the firm represents Nelson, and they wrote and stated for Nelson, the letter stated the government must honor the November 2017 indemnity. So I don't think the DPP saw that in all those documents until 2019, at which point he charged Ramdi, he charged Ram Logan, and he charged Nelson in accordance with the plea deal that they had arranged. He said, so the letter from Nelson's lawyer says that he refers to the 2017 indemnity agreement, in particular the obligations set out in paragraph 5 of the agreement, both in respect of legal fees already incurred and those that will be incurred in relation to ongoing proceedings. It stated that in addition to the outstanding legal fees, and it stated what it was. And that is when Al-Rawi going and write to DPP and asking him, he says, I am mindful of any allegation of undue influence, and as such, I bring the said correspondent to your urgent attention for your consideration and advice. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. All right. And then the DPP wrote back to him, respectfully, I decline to proffer any advice to you in this matter, since the handling of same and its potential progeny, I can't pronounce the word, he likes these big words, progenies, falls entirely within your purview and that of your legal advisors. Further, it is my considered opinion that it would be improper for my office to associate itself with this development. Then in December 2020, BCL, who represented Vincent Nelson, wrote again, reiterated its demand for outstanding legal fees but to be paid by the government to honor the indemnity agreement, right? And they said the remaining legal fees have been outstanding since May 2019. And look at what they said, for the avoidance of doubt, we are now in a position that unless we receive immediate payment of our fees, the firm and the Mr. Kawal Singh will have no option but to commence debt recovery fees against our client. While it remains a matter for Mr. Nelson QC, it seems to us inevitable that a failure by the government to meet the legal fees of Mr. Nelson's lawyers would be regarded by him as a clear breach of the indemnity by the government and will result in his refusal to give evidence. It would also result in the termination of our retainer with Mr. Nelson. Then he gone back and write the DPP again. This is Al-Rawi writing him, trying to get him involved in it. And he's saying here what he said, Mr. Nelson's QC's attorneys, I am of the view that the settlement of same arguably falls under the ambit of the said indemnity agreement. In these circumstances, I will, however, not proceed to treat with this matter without ascertaining your position in relation to same. And he wanted him to say that he wasn't against doing arbitration, which is closed door. But hear what he said. I hold the view that justice must not only be done, but must also be seen to be done. I'm not necessarily against the investigation and determination of this matter by way of arbitration, subject entirely to your and senior counsel for the Attorney General's views and advice respectively on this matter. The DPP wrote him back. And in his letter, the DPP distanced his office from the matter, stating, Mr. Vincent Nelson QC is indeed a potentially critical witness to the state. Nonetheless, permit me to reiterate that my office is loath to involve itself in any manner or form with any indemnity agreement and its corollaries. Respectfully, those matters fall outside my purview. I read the letters. You understand?
The DPP dismissed the Attorney General's attempt
to pull him in.
One could say to ensnare him.
Exactly. Exactly. And then he would turn around and say, you know, he's turn around and say, I didn't only have the advice of senior counsel, but I had the advice of the DPP.
The DPP, yeah.
You understand? And the DPP didn't go to school yesterday.
He resigned.
And the DPP didn't go to school yesterday. So he understands how he being set up. So he making sure.
The Attorney General saw that he was in a spot of bother, and he was trying to invite the DPP into it for the DPP to take up the slack on his behalf.
Well, all I know is he wanted to put the DPP in his bacchanal, right? And the DPP said,
why?
Well, because, it's the same reason he said, I didn't do this on my own. I got advice from senior counsel, and then he could say, and also from the DPP.
Yeah. So he triangulated his research, and he was fully back to do what he did. And he wanted to be able to try to substantiate that point by being able to use the DPP's name in it.
Well, let us put it this way.
Outside to that you are setting the DPP up inadvertently for people
not inadvertently. Well, he was setting up the DPP, and the DPP smell a rat because he experienced with politicians. You understand?
Karen, we know that, but I had to say inadvertently.
You can say inadvertently, okay, unintentionally or otherwise. How can we put it like that? Intentional or otherwise. And from the DPP's point of view, dealing with politicians over the years, he knows to protect himself.
You want me to swallow hook, bait, and sinker?
And he tell him, stop asking me my advice. This is something for you to deal with. I didn't enter into any, and my one was my pre-agreement. And I dealt with that.
After he went and entered into plea agreement, did his own thing, and when it falling apart, he wanted DPP's advice then.
Well, the plea agreement worked. The plea agreement was for the criminal proceedings.
But why he didn't go for the DPP's advice from the onset? From the very beginning?
He could not.
No, but the point is, that's it exactly. You couldn't go for it from the very beginning because it would have been inappropriate to do so. What make
that's unconstitutional.
Right, I won't make it feel when it begins to unravel, you can go for it now.
Every time you write it. So what I want to tell is, from my understanding, they keep saying the reason why he is suing for breach of the indemnity agreement is because they said that Mr. Young revealed to the UK people that he had been convicted and involved in all of that. But as Ms. Young rightfully said, you can never enter into agreement to protect somebody from a wrongdoing. In other words, I can't say, I promise that I will not let the UK police know that we agreed in exchange for 5 kilos of cocaine, we will pay you so and so. You can't do that. So and that is what I believe the DPP, when he tried to explain, he said, we do not have an extradition that we can force him to come here. We cannot force him to get witness thing if he doesn't, because it was dependent on the indemnity agreement. I'm talking about the civil part and a civil part, and also he's talking about the civil part and the prosecution of Ram Logan and Ram Dean. That's what he's concerned. And what he's saying is, I did my part with Vincent Nelson. We entered in a plea agreement. I charged everybody. Vincent was fined, non-custodial sentence. That's me there. You doing your part, and I will use that information now that you have given me to pursue the criminal proceedings. A part of the indemnity agreement was nothing was to be done until the civil matters were settled. All kinds of nonsense. So I think he cannot speak out. Unfortunately, he's not allowed to. So. And I do not know for sure, but I'm just putting 2 and 2 together, and maybe 4 and maybe 5, maybe 3. I'm feeling more close to 4 though. I have a feeling that he is fuming with what the Faisal Rawi, the position he put it in, and that he is now being looked at the bad guy as if he doesn't want to pursue it. But he wants to do it, but so much damage. He says the reliability and credibility of the main witness for the prosecution has been so damaged that, it and the length of time involved, he has to discontinue at this point in time.
Yeah. What do you think? Pamela Elder, senior counsel, is also saying the Attorney General, in light of all that we discussed, have a lot.
Former, we know, it's usually good former.
Who is that?
No,
former Attorney General. Yeah. Former Attorney General has a lot of questions to answer. You heard what she said?
Yeah, but I don't want to go into that. No. You know why I don't want to go into that, Richard? Yeah. 2 wrongs will make a right. Okay? Yeah. So I don't want to go in that. What happened now is because they just
Where do 2 wrongs reside? Where they live?
What I mean, in your house.
Well, Daddy Ma'am, Karen gone into the corner. If there was ever low blow,
well, what you want me to say? What I'm saying is that people will be unhappy about what has happened. That Anang Logan Ramdi are not being prosecuted, right? And what happened with the civil matter now, it's just a big mess and money being spent and all that. I mean, people are upset about that. But so she knows she's there to defend her clients, but don't make them out to be the angels that they are not. And don't let it get the impression these poor men were wrongly, this impression that these poor men
Karen,
were
I was
wrongly.
that part. That's the normal run of the mill thing.
Right. So you know,
I deal with the part where she said, "Why you paid so much money to or on behalf of Mr. Nelson?" That part. That's what she was saying. He must explain that. Why? What kind of deal? Why you spend so much money on this guy?
I don't want to answer that too much, because there's always, we don't know all of it, because you could see on the other hand, when Anand Ramlugan was there, one of the things that the Faraz Harawi did, first of all, he settled an outstanding bill. They did not recover the money that he had been paid. That was one of the requirements. So whatever he had been paid under the then government, he was not required to return it, and he had outstanding payments due to him over £1 million. So you have to ask yourself, why was Vincent Nelson being paid all this money? All of his money. You have to ask yourself, why was the state paying all this money to Vincent Nelson? So I don't really want to go down that road. I prefer to say that I agree with her and both the chief magistrate and her when she complimented the DPP for doing the right thing. And I think he did the right thing in the circumstances that he was put in.
Yeah, how else going to go forward? He had nowhere else to go.
He was mad. I can tell you that. I don't know. He didn't tell me. He didn't whisper anything in my ears, but I just reading that. He's so mad with them. As far as he's, you know how, what is that? What is the acronym? Right? They really fudged it up.
That's like the sign asking.
I don't curse, but then you're fudging, you fudge something.
That's like the sign that
what?
That's like the sign on the Lakova, the flyover HYMC.
Right. So no, but I said fudge is a proper word, both to mean a sweet and fudge up something is to mess it up. And fudge is to cheat. So you would take it to mean anything you want it to mean, but it is a proper English word. Not only I do other words are proper words too, but proper acceptable words that one can use in a public forum. So I just say that that's where he is now, and he never said anything to me. But I spent a lot of time over the weekend trying to put the pieces together and trying to understand it and all of that. And that's the bottom line. And what I find is hard is that it make it seem as though they tried to make, and they still, I feel a sense like the GPP was somehow on the inside track. He's not on the inside track. This matter that he had put all his energy into, in my view, as doing his job and not letting himself be caught up in the politics, but doing what he is required to do. It had been so compromised by what had happened on the AG side and all the other things that when a criminal trial, senior counsel would have, representing defendants, would have chewed them over. But both of them did remark about the honesty and integrity of the DPP, and they know him to be nothing else but that.
No, he has operated in that way since he has gotten that job. I mean, there have been a lot of accusations, thrown at him, but nothing was substantiated at any time. Nothing took traction, So it's just that people were disappointed with some of his positions. But when they dialed into it or drilled into it, they realized that there was nothing else he could have done. To me,
you don't understand. They wanted him out of there. And what they like you to do is become a judge and get you out there, because the DPP has plenty power, DPP takes no instructions from the executive, So in other words, the executive cannot come and tell you who to prosecute, who not to prosecute. I mean, he acts on evidence, which is gathered by the police and so on.
How did DPP get to job, Karen? I never looked into that. How is
he's young, Roger Caspar. He's been there a long time.
General, the DPP.
How did what?
How the Director of Public Prosecutions get that job? The state doesn't have a role in it, or it's the state opposition?
No. Well, when I say the state doesn't have a role, when he prosecutes a matter, he prosecutes on behalf of the state, because in criminal cases,
Karen, the question I'm
asking. I don't understand what you're asking.
Yeah, so I want to clarify.
I can't answer it.
I sure you don't be able to answer it still. You're so bright. Even when
you don't try that.
No, even when you don't understand the question, you have an answer for it. You are very bright, Karen.
All right, fool me up. I need a clip. I'm going point 14 just now, huh?
Where one person said he saw a man coming around a corner and he don't even had to see the fella. He just had to see the corner where the fella passed. And he could
That's a calypso. That's a calypso.
Yeah,
and the tailor who said he's so good that he don't have to take any measurements. That's the one, that's calypso with the tailor.
Yes.
You want to see who
King Liar by Lord Nelson.
Aye. Right? And that was the best one. He said, I don't even have to take the measurement. I just have to know the corner where he passed. And I can tell you what his measurements are. Yeah. And then you have
he can make him a suit
without
even measure. And
you just have to pass around that corner.
Next
and
one
you know already.
Nice joke. Mike Taylor, he's so good. He just had to show him the corner when the fella passed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, Sparrow with lies. When his girlfriend say, I'll hand down the lady block. He say, you see how people like to mash us up? You see how you're listening to friends? Listening to friends who want to mash us up?
Yeah.
I said that to say I like to reference things. When I say you don't even have to hear the question, make it answer it, I was referencing technically a part of that song. I was just joking.
Yeah. But I have to go, you know. I have to go now, you know.
4 minutes ago, tell the people what you will be able to bring for us in our party if you're elected leader. A little bit. Every time you come on, I'll give you that opportunity.
Yes. Okay. And very quickly, one thing I want to make very clear. No one, and I certainly am not challenging the Prime Minister. He is the Prime Minister of this country, and we respect and recognize that. What we are doing is looking at the party leadership, because we believe, based on what we're hearing out there and the newspaper coverage, there's some level of the foundation of the party is in some need of repair, so that when we transition from a party leadership and hopefully into national governance, that we are well prepared and we can restore the faith of some who have lost faith, perhaps, bring in more people by being accountable, by being transparent, and looking at things like the communication using the internet more effectively, use social media to get out your message to people in terms of, example, the registration date. There are so many issues that it's hard for me now on the outside to speak to it. But what I can tell you is that the aim and objective, together with our chairman, Ken Butcher, we are going there to restore, to work together with the other members of the parties so that we can make the PNN's party true to its original founding fathers and aims and objectives. That is our role, so that we can inspire confidence of the national community, so that when it is time to transition to national governance, that we have built up that level of trust, confidence, transparency, which for many seem not to be in place at this point in time.
And would it be okay next week, you know, until these elections? Because when you become political leader of the PNM, the next step is from the prime minister.
You better go and watch them boxes, huh? When I send you look at them boxes. What is I want you, I'll give you a job. You have to put some lights on them boxes.
Don't be surprised. Well, Anthony Roberts, I think you were here. It was Ashik Monday. I did say Anthony's such a nice guy.
Yes, he is.
He goes to sleep. Those boxes grow like.
But he alone cannot watch the boxes.
That's a lot more heavy than when they left.
I feel you anyway. Yes, next week, of course, we raise it. I wanted to raise the issue of de-risking, but next week I'll have to read, because I went to the Senate on Tuesday, gave a speech there, not the Senate, but an offshoot of the Senate, where it was the Caribbean and African countries with big central bank governors, really big players in the African continent, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, Senegal, Rwanda, and 3 of us from the Caribbean, 3 or 4 of us. I was invited to actually address the forum, and one of two of us, the current Minister of Finance in Jamaica and myself, an MSNBC interview with Melissa Caruso Pereira, who is a journalist and a correspondent with MSNBC. It was not filmed, but she interviewed us, and that I thought was a great honor to be selected to do that. So next week, perhaps we could speak a little bit about that.
Great.
Yeah.
To go, and I don't want them pulling the plug on us, especially
Yes.
when you are the potential political leader of our party.
Yes.
So,
I'll go on. See you, and I'm looking out for you, Daddy Mac.
Yes, I'll be heading down that way soon.
Okay, go.
Daddy Mac, send me the recording, hook me up, let me hear it. All
right. I'm going. Bye.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Everybody,
all right,
bye-bye.
until Monday. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Say that again, Richard.
Leave on, let me hear the news.
Well, I hope they don't pull it down.